What's up, guys? It's Ryan Norberg with Racers360. Before we start our track guide, I want to mention a few key points that will help improve consistency and your overall lap time around this track. Number one is Ocala Grand Prix is only a 36-second track. It's super fast and the corners are super tight. With that being said, every corner matters. There are only 8 corners on the racetrack, so every corner can add up. Obviously, because the track is so small, not only is the entry of the corner important, but so is the exit. Every time you exit a corner, you're entering the next corner immediately. So at this track, it is really important to give up the entry of the corner so that you get a good exit entering the next corner. Another key point of this track is it rewards drivers who roll a lot of speed through the corners. Whenever you get on the gas too early at this track, it's going to force you wide off the exit, which will inevitably mess up your next corner. So make sure you're very patient on the throttle and get on the gas late to improve consistency and to improve your exit off the corner. Now let's get started on a lap around Ocala Grand Prix. As we enter down the straightaway, you'll see that turn one is a really wide corner. Your apex for the corner is on the back side of the corner. Your apex for the corner is actually right around where that driver is. So you really need to focus on making sure you stay wide enough on the entry of this corner and slowly decrease that radius as you go into the corner. You want to tighten up slowly through this corner so that you don't have to scrub that much speed once you reach the apex. Also for this corner, you want to stay pretty much flat out the majority of the time. Depending on the track condition, there will probably be a small lift in the center of the corner, but the majority of this time, this corner is going to be flat out or a 75% modulation of the throttle all the way through the corner. You can see there, I hit my apex, and I come out of turn one just about 2 feet to the right of this center seam. Now this space in between my kart and that center seam is going to stay pretty much the same all the way entering into turn two. The difficult part about turn two is the apex of this corner is really late. But if you enter the corner too wide, you end up going to miss the rubber and slide out wide off of turn two. So it's really important that you enter this corner tight, but not too tight. I like to stay about 2 feet apart from the center seam and maybe creep back a little bit as I get closer to the corner. You can see on the exit, I stay nice and tight to the right-hand side of the racetrack. That gives me a nice setup going into turn three here. Again, this corner is really tight as well, so it's really important just to get on the gas late out of two, keep the kart nice and to the right so that you're set up really well for turn three. Turn three is a tight corner. There's about like 2 apexes to it. It's kind of difficult because of the way the curbing is it's not straight all the way through. But the way I like to get around the corner is I like to just kind of hug it the whole way through and then just make sure I get a late acceleration off. That way I can drive into the corner hard, but I can also keep the kart tight off the corner and still get a nice run down into turn four. Now entering into turn four, the next 3 corners are super close and basically flow together. So in this corner, you want to make sure you hit your marks correctly so that when you enter into turn 5, you're also hitting your marks, and then 6, it just keeps carrying on. So as you go into this corner, you really want to focus on getting a nice late apex so you can keep the kart relatively tight off the corner, not using the full track on exit, just so that you have enough time to set up for turn 5. As you see, I'm setting up for a nice late apex into this corner. I'm looking to apex right about here, right where that big rubber patch is, that tar patch. It really is kind of my gauge as to where I want to put the kart through this corner. There also, when the track rubber's up, is a lot of grip right in this section. So it's really important that you get your kart underneath that to maximize speed through this corner. As you can see, hit my apex, and now I exit the corner just slightly over that center seam. I try and gauge it as soon as I go over that center seam. I want to immediately start turning back to the left-hand side to make turn 5. As I enter 5, I know that as soon as I get back over that center seam, I'm immediately turning to the right into turn 5. Again, both of these corners, you really want to focus on getting a nice late apex so that you can keep the kart tight and focus on getting a good run off of this corner and a good entry into the next. Nice late, slow acceleration onto the throttle. You see the center seam here again. I'm just barely over it and then immediately turning back to the right-hand side of the racetrack to hit turn number 6. Another key thing about this racetrack is that your hand should never stop moving for the most part. In this tight hairpin section, you're going to be turning the majority of the time. As soon as you're done turning one direction, you immediately start turning the other way. Because it's so tight, you really want to make sure you're using as much as a racetrack as you can in as little time as you can. And so now I exit this corner just a little bit over that center seam, go to as wide as I can on the entry of the corner, and now quick flick of the go-kart, good acceleration through there. I kind of modulate the gas. Again, the track condition changes quite a bit there, so it's going to be just either a lift or a slight modulation of the throttle and then back the power. And now this one, you go about 3/4 of the track on exit. There's a little bit of space between this corner and turn number 7. So you have a little bit more area to play with. But again, you don't want to use full track on this corner because you'll not make it in enough time to set up for this next corner. Go all the way to almost the max track here on entry into this corner. And now, again, late apex off of this corner, trying to get a nice run down here. This corner is relatively simple. Obviously, because the last corner is so far away, there's no real sense to try and set up the exit of this corner as much. So you can kind of get away with getting on the gas early, getting the power band going, and keeping that engine speed up, and then using all the track on exit. Use a little bit of the curbing on the runoff. And then for this last corner, this one is one of the most important corners on the racetrack. Basically, what you want to do is make this corner a V. You want to drive in hard in a straight line so that you can maximize the speed you enter in and maximize the braking. Obviously, it's really difficult to brake and turn at the same time. So if you can get the kart in straight into this corner, you can maximize the time you spend braking because you can brake almost in a straight line to the apex of this corner. So you want to drive into this corner really hard, maximize that braking, roll for a little bit, and then keep the kart nice and tight off exit and get a nice straight line off exit. Hard in, braking. You see now I'm tight to the curb right now. Get a nice straight line off the corner for a nice straight exit. Slowly apply the power on the straightaway, just an easy application of the throttle, just maximizing all the traction you have so you get a nice run going on in the straightaway. So that's a lap around Ocala Grand Prix. If you want more coaching from me or any of our other expert coaches, feel free to go to Racers360.com and sign up for your personal online coaching. Now, here's a lap around Ocala Grand Prix.